All right, here we go. Is Andrew Tate the new Kevin Samuels? I think so. I mean, there's a big differences. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of differences, but they're very similar. They're very similar the way they think and how their personality traits are and so on and so forth. But before we kind of get into that, like, who is Andrew Tate? Before we get into that, do me a favor, like, subscribe, put out videos constantly. My channel, if you've never seen my channel before, it's basically primarily an interview channel for guys. So I have a lot of bodybuilders, powerlifters, former mafia members, professional wrestlers, adult entertainers or porno girls. I've had musicians on, Run DMC, and you go down the list. And I do some manosphere stuff here and there, right? So I kind of make it like an all-encompassing thing for men. But anyway, so who is Andrew Tate? So Andrew Tate was obviously most famous for being a 3-time kickboxing champion. I've never seen any of his fights, but I've never really followed kickboxing. I was always more of a boxing person. But from what I understand, he was an excellent, excellent kickboxer, one of the best in the world at his time. So he's an American-born kickboxer. He was from Detroit, right? Detroit? Yes, Detroit, yeah. His dad is American. His mother was British. His dad was a chess champion, apparently. So I agree with pretty much almost everything that he says, right? Is he a little bit too cocky and arrogant for me? Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't matter because it's working for him. It's working. I mean, he has been blowing up like nobody's business on social media, YouTube, Instagram. But he's got like millions of subscribers, millions of followers on Instagram, so on and so forth. Okay, so apparently he was a kickboxing champion. After he did this kickboxing, after he retired from kickboxing, from what I understand, he actually had girls working for him on webcam services. From what research I did, he had as many as 75 girls working for him on webcam services. And that was producing almost $600,000 a month from this webcam service, right? Then he invested in casinos, and he owned several casinos in Romania because he now resides in Romania. The guy, as of 2022, from the research I did, his net worth is $250 million, and he's a legitimate multimillionaire. He made his first $100 million by the time he was 27 years old. So he's obviously a special guy, okay? He's a very, very special guy. He's not your average Joe. He is 1% of the 1%. Most guys that make that kind of money, they do it over a lifetime. And, even they're special and they're 1%. I mean, he's only 35 years old and he's worth $250 million. I mean, that is just unbelievable. So apparently he has casinos. He also has I believe it's called like the Hustler Room or something like that. Oh no, the Hustler Game, something like that, whatever the case may be. And it basically teaches people how to invest and become rich. I also think he also invested into cryptocurrency. So he's got his fingers in everything, which most people that have this kind of money do, right? But the thing is, once you make a name for yourself, once you market yourself and you have this brand and you are the brand, no matter what you invest in or what others invest in for you, you're going to make money because people like you. I mean, he has a tremendous following. It's mostly guys, obviously. So is he the new Kevin Samuels? He is to an extent, okay? Kevin Samuels and Andrew Tate have the same philosophy. Kevin was a little bit classier, though. I mean, Andrew Tate is more very flashy. He kind of reminds me of like the way he dresses with the open shirts. I mean, I'm sure the shirts are thousands of dollars. Don't get me wrong. But he kind of reminds me of The Rock in the late 90s when he was the bad guy. He used to come out with the Versace shirts all open and everything, but whatever. Kevin was dressed to a T. I mean, everything was just perfect. But he was, I believe he was a fashion consultant. Yeah, Kevin Samuels was a fashion consultant before he did social media. And then he obviously jumped on his YouTube channel, started dealing with men first. Once he started dealing with women, that's when he really blew up because as Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels would just give it straightforward. He would call out bullshit, okay? And to men, this is like every day, okay? Your boss tells you this, if your father, hopefully a majority of you grew up with fathers. I mean, I don't think so in America anymore, but your father would call you out on your bullshit. Your drill instructor calls you out on your bullshit. Your brother calls you out on your bullshit. I mean, I do it, right? A friend of mine at work was like, John, how do I lose this weight? I'm like, stop eating, you fat bastard, right? Where girls, you kind of tiptoe around because they're very emotional and they get sad and they cry and you kind of have to, they get motivated by more of like uplifting stuff, right? So if my wife goes to the gym, I tell her, oh, keep it up, good work, keep going, you look great, let's go together, whatever. Where if it's a dude, I'm like, dude, stop eating, go to the gym and stop fucking bitching. And that's how Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels would speak to women. And this blew up with men because finally men are like, wow, they're finally getting a taste of their own medicine. Like I would love to talk to my wife like that. I would love to talk to my sister like that, but they can't. Most guys can't. Okay. Now, oh yeah, he was on Big Brother, right? After he was a kickboxer, he was on the show Big Brother, like some kind of reality show. It was really something else, right? And his YouTube channel now, of course, is called TateSpeech. Now, I first found out about Andrew Tate on Fresh and Fit, right? Because I was, when Fresh and Fit first blew up, I was watching it, so on and so forth. It's become redundant, but they still have a great show. Don't get me wrong. It's still a great show. It's just become redundant with the same thing, the same kind of thing with the girls, and them and so on and so forth. But it is entertaining. I mean, it really is dramatic and entertaining and so on and so forth, right? So, Andrew Tate, like I said before, his net worth is $250 million. Kevin Samuels' net worth at the time of his death was $4 million. That's a big difference. Andrew Tate is a legitimate multi-millionaire. Kevin Samuels was a very wealthy person, had a lot of money. There's a big difference. But listen, I wish I was worth 1 million, right? It's just not the case for me. I fall into the 98% of guys that are not millionaires, right? The one thing they do is I remember that Andrew Tate said this on Fresh and Fit. He goes, he was talking to some girl, I don't remember. He was talking to all the panels of girls. And he said, you're confusing every man with 1% of men that are very wealthy and can oppress women, right? Because the majority of men go to work every day and want to support their family because they do horrible jobs. He talked about slinging garbage. And they go to work so they can keep their wife and put food on the table. And so their wives could get their nails done and look good and so on and so forth. And he's 110% right. And Kevin Samuels used to say the same thing. Kevin Samuels was a big advocate for the regular dude. Now, if you never saw the clip with Jordan Peterson, somebody asked him, is it okay to be a man? And he said, it's not okay, it's necessary. What are we going to do without men? They do all the dangerous jobs. Again, 110% right. I mean, just spot on. So I pulled up some numbers, and nobody appreciates what men do in the capacity as to we take advantage of things. The infrastructure and heating, electricity, and plumbing and sewage and so on and so forth. So I pulled up some numbers as to how important men are in everyday life. So let's see, your lights, electricians. Electricians make up 87% of electricians are men, okay? Carpenters, 92% of carpenters are men. Masons, 75% of masons are men, which was surprising when I thought it would be higher than that, but it's 75%, which is still significant. HVAC, 93% of HVAC people are men. And HVAC is heating and air conditioning. Plumbers, 91% of plumbers are men. Infrastructure engineers, bridges, tunnels, roads, 86% of them are men, okay? Sanitation workers, 75% of them are men. Crane operators, 98% of them are men. My cousin is a crane operator. And we were having this discussion the other day, and we were just talking. I said, how much money did you clear? And he blew me away. The amount of money that he makes, Oh, not in the millions, but let's just say well into the six figures, tremendous money and trade career for a young man. Okay. Crane, we said that dock workers, 80%, 87% of dock workers. Sewer workers, what I do for a living, 87% of sewer workers are men. And veterans, 90% of veterans are men. There's no focus on this. So what I mean by that is the young kids today, they think that they get a job, they go to college, or they become wealthy like Andrew Tate or Kevin Samuels. And there's plenty of things in the middle. High schools don't teach this anymore. If mothers have no idea. Dads have, if dads aren't there, or if they're from a weak dad, or so on and so forth, everything is go to college, go to college, go to college. These are great trades, and you can make a lot of money. And I push this on all the young guys that I come in contact with. I push this on, and I tell them, for 10 years before I was a sewer guy, I was an electrician. Electricians make well into six figures. Every one of these trades make well into six figures. Now, are you going to be Andrew Tate? No, but you could live a nice, comfortable life. Are you going to drive a Lambo? No, but you'll drive a nice car. You'll never have to worry about your lights getting shut off or anything like that. You could have a family. You could get married. You can keep a woman, so on and so forth. It's necessary that we push this on young men because, first of all, from the numbers, women don't want to do these jobs, okay? So that cuts half the community right out. And on top of that, since these jobs aren't being pushed, like in high schools and by families and so on and so forth, there is a drive for it. There is a demand for it. There's a complete, especially crane operators, dock workers. I mean, all of them basically. I mean, sewer workers. You go down. There's a demand for it. And now the infrastructure engineers. Obviously, you have to go to school to be an engineer. 60% of people in college today are women or girls. And they're begging. Colleges are begging for girls to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but they don't want to because that's not who they are. The majority of women want to go into, people related stuff, social work, teaching, anything, nursing, things in that nature, dental hygienist, anything that involves people and caring for people and so on and so forth. That's what women like to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. So it's not like this, oppressive patriarchy that, we only hire men. That's horseshit. That's complete and total horseshit. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Andrew Tate is the new Kevin Samuels. Okay. But he's bigger and he's better because he's a multimillionaire. And he literally, and the one thing that he does that Kevin didn't do, he debates liberals. Kevin never did that. Andrew Tate debates like crazy radical liberals too. I saw him debate some guy with pink hair or something like that. I wouldn't want to debate Andrew Tate. He tore this guy up. It was unbelievable. And he tears women up. I saw him, he told a woman, this very pretty girl on Fresh and Fit, guys don't want to be your friend. Guys just want to talk to you because they want to bang you because you're hot. That's how guys operate. And she's like, no, I have plenty of guy friends and they're like my brother and so on and so forth. And he said, look, listen, if you were 400 pounds, you wouldn't have any guy friends. Okay. But they're guys that wanted to talk to you and you friend zone them. And that's it. That's all that happened. And he is 110% right. He is spot on. The things that he says sound ridiculous, but they're really not. It's just people don't want to say it, and he says it. I mean, I see it in my own family, right? I come from a very traditional Italian family, right? I could see it with my own eyes. The women are there cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and so on and so forth. And the men are working, making the money, doing the heavy lifting, fixing things around the house, so on and so forth, protecting. Goes on and on and on, right? But then we'll have a discussion and they'll say all this politically correct stuff that women could do anything that men do. I was having this conversation with my cousin. This is great. My cousin, who I love to death, right? We're originally from Brooklyn. She actually lives in Queens now. I live in Jersey, but we're all originally from Brooklyn. And I was talking about some show I watched. I don't remember the show, but basically it was a woman mafia boss, woman gangster, so on and so forth. And I'm like, I can't watch that shit. I was like, because I need some reality in my fantasy. And I said, there is no way, I know of one in history, Griselda Blanco, maybe, and Joey Miami, who I'll actually be interviewing, by the way. And she looked at me like, and I'm like, Joanne. Oh, I just gave her name, but whatever, my cousin Joanne. It's like, Joanne, all the women mafia bosses when we lived in Brooklyn, really? All the women mafia members that lived in Brooklyn? No. It was all, and then she kind of rolled her eyes, right? So on and so forth. It was always men. Women, when it comes to crime, and it's usually you're a prostitute or drugs or so on and so forth. And very, very, very small exceptions are they're actually involved. Like I said, Griselda Blanco and Joey Miami. Joey Miami actually worked for Santo Trapacanti in the 80s, who was the biggest Italian mafia boss in Florida, sat on the commission, one of the strongest mafia bosses in the country at the time. I will be interviewing with her. It'll be a tremendous interview. I just hope Andrew Tate doesn't die of a heart attack, just like Kevin Samuels does. I still have not heard of Kevin Samuels' autopsy report. It might be out there. I just haven't heard of it. I don't know. It might be old news, but I just have never come across it or anything like that. Now, Andrew Tate might be in a different position because he's much more powerful and has a lot more money, and there's a lot more people that want him, that he makes a lot of money for a lot of people. So he probably won't have a heart attack. But anyway, guys, listen. If you're a young man, listen to what he says. But at the same time, don't get all caught up in being a gazillionaire, okay? The majority of us are regular guys. And if you are stuck, trade school is not that expensive, man. Trade school is not that expensive. You pick one of these trades and you will make a nice living, right? And just like if you don't have the money, there's loans and grants to trade school, just like college. And I'm telling you, electricians, carpenters, masons, HVAC, do you know HVAC? Do you know how impossible it is to get? There was a heat wave going on in New York, okay? My central air, I had a problem with my central air. I couldn't get a HVAC guy to come because they're so goddamn busy. I actually had to buy a window unit like it's 1972 until I got an HVAC guy to come. Right? It's unbelievable. So in the summer, they're constantly busy, and they got side work and so on and so forth with air conditioning. And in the winter, they're constantly busy with heating because it's so freaking cold. If I could do it over again, that's what I would do. HVAC is 100%. But any one of these, man, any one of these are tremendous careers. Here's another thing. 90% of veterans are men. Here's a stat that probably nobody knows. And this is what I mean, but nobody really gives a shit about men. Since the Iraq War, we have lost over 30,000 veterans to self-deletion. I can't say the word on YouTube because I'll get suppressed, but you know what I mean, self-deletion. Nobody talks about it. Over 30,000, meaning that is a lot of men. The majority of people that self-delete are men. I think it's like 70%. The majority of them are over 40. And the three reasons why they self-delete: finance, illness, or a terrible divorce. Those are the three biggest reasons. I'm going to let you go. Listen to Andrew Tate. He's entertaining, but don't get caught up in his crazy lifestyle and think that that's what you have to do. I mean, obviously, if you have the ambition, you're talking about a a very, very small percent of hyper successful men that work. I mean, you see him in his Lambos, and so I guarantee he's working 80, 90 hours a week. I guarantee it. No man who makes that kind of money isn't working 80, 90 hours a week. I mean, he's probably working at home and constantly when there's like no time to relax. Most people, most guys want to go to work. They want to make a good living. They want to spend time with their family, with their kids, so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. Just make sure you can make a good living. All right. My father told me two things. You got to make a good living and you got to get along with your wife because that's your entire life. So listen, take that. And guys, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. And my friend has these shirts. I'll put the link in the description. Team Savage. They're pretty cool. He has a ton of shirts and a ton of hats and stuff like that. And he ordered on Instagram. I will put the Instagram link in my description. And all right, guys, I'll let you go. Okay. So Andrew Tate, the new Kevin Samuels. Guys, have a good one. Peace.